The government is trying to criminalize privacy.
That is the safest move right now, is to just scare everyone.
Just leave them alone. If they want to play with fake internet money, what does it matter?
So you have recently called this whole phenomenon a schizophrenic federal government.
It's just another example of how these octogenarians don't understand how the world works.
Well, this is what the United States government thinks they're going to do, but what are we going to do?
What do you mean, what are we going to do?
Me and you.
I don't, what?
Are we trapped? It's Mandana.
And Ian.
Welcome to Flirting with Bitcoin.
Season 3.
That's right. 3 years ago, I tricked Ian into a weekly date night.
I let you trick me so I could teach you about Bitcoin.
Well, it worked. I'm very excited for the halving.
You should be. Bitcoin's about to do what Bitcoin's about to do.
Ooh, okay then. Keon, can we start the show?
Okay.
Let's go.
Hey, Ian.
Hey, Mandana.
So I heard that someone in the Bitcoin business got arrested recently. You did not seem that excited about explaining to me what happened.
It's just that I know it can be hard to keep your interest when I need to get technical. And I'll need to get technical for you to understand why Samurai and Wasabi have done nothing illegal.
Okay, that's fair. But okay, let me give you the benefit of the doubt here. I don't need to know the details. But if it's that technical of a conversation, how could the average American understand what's going on? Could we talk about that?
Actually, no. We should talk about what I'm actually pissed off about.
What are you pissed off about?
The fact that the people that are bringing this case in the manner that they have either don't understand how any of this works, thus they should not be qualified to literally destroy people's lives by arresting them and taking them into court, or they do understand how this all works and they still did it, which implies to me that there's an ulterior motive, not stopping money laundering.
You seem really upset about it.
Yeah, I mean, I also haven't been sleeping lately, so
I
and
shouldn't
my
laugh.
allergies are killing me, but this is getting ridiculous. It's going to get worse than this. I would argue that this case is the beginning of a string of increasingly more draconian attempts by the United States government and most other governments to make people think that Bitcoin is for criminals when it's not.
All right, before we get into it, let's say hello to our listeners. Hola, Spain.
Namaskar, Nepal.
Guten Tag, Germany.
Hola, Brazil.
Sawadee, Thailand.
Good day, UK.
Good day, Canada.
Hola, Argentina.
Buongiorno, Italy.
Namaste, Bharat.
Kamusta, Philippines.
Bonjour, France.
Hola, Portugal.
Hello, Indonesia.
Hello, Netherlands.
Konnichiwa, Japan.
Witam, Poland.
Za Viete, Bulgaria.
Hola, Venezuela.
Good day, Australia.
Hola, Mexico.
What's up, Nigeria?
And howdy to Texas. What time is it, babe?
The current time is 8:42-118, and we're approximately 1,383 blocks since our last recording.
And how many blocks since the last halving?
We are 2,118 blocks since the halving.
It's time for the Satoshi Price Index, data brought to you by pricedinbitcoin21.com. So if I gave you one crumpled up, dirty, old US dollar, how many acres could I get on sunny Bitcoin Island?
Today, you could get 1,565 acres, aka Satoshis, on sunny Bitcoin Island.
And how much has the Satoshi Price Index gone up or down since we last recorded?
Well, since we last recorded, there was a big drop in the price of Bitcoin, but it has rebounded since we recorded. So the Satoshi Price Index is only up 1.18%, which means if you're living on a Bitcoin standard, your life got 1.1% more expensive. But about 4 days ago, it was a little worse. And I want to acknowledge that. But this is the point, is that Bitcoin is a volatile asset. And so you might have a spike down and up, but in a week, it is only 1%.
What about the price of common day goods?
Well, again, pricedinbitcoin21.com is commodity prices, but they are reflective of things trending towards less and less Satoshis over time. So, for example, eggs are 5,000 Satoshis for a dozen. Beef is 5,300 Satoshis for a kilogram. Gas is 3,700 Satoshis for a gallon. Cheese is 3,000 Satoshis for a pound. Corn is 6,700 Satoshis for a bushel. And then we have gold and housing prices as well, which are not part of the index price because they throw the numbers off, but gold is 3.1 million Satoshis for an ounce. And a new house in the United States is 6.8 Bitcoin or 680 million Satoshis.
A bushel of corn?
Bushel of corn.
I want a bushel of corn.
That's
When
a
you
lot of
said it,
corn.
I was like, that sounds delicious. Grill it, like dip that grilled corn in a salt water bath and then like smother butter all over it and just go to town. I'm ready for summer.
I'm not.
It's a little too hot too soon.
It gets hot here. Like there's no middle ground. You're either cold or hot?
Babe, are we going to talk about the elephant in the room? You quit your job?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we can talk about it if you want.
Do you want to talk about it?
I quit my job?
Ian is a free agent.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one way to put it. Yeah, no, I mean.
You quit your job when Bitcoin was down. So you probably really confused them.
No, but it's funny because one of my coworkers called me, or my former coworker now, I guess, called me, and he was like, yeah, I went to message you on Slack and your profile said inactive. And then I immediately jumped and looked to the price of Bitcoin. Like, did it go up? He's like, did Bitcoin go up and I not know? And I was funny. I was like, oh, wow, like location or tracking Ian's location based on the price of Bitcoin. That's pretty funny. No, I mean, honestly, it was time. I don't want to get into the details of what I do and why I quit. Fundamentally, I worked in the most fiat of things you could imagine. So I worked in a financial services company. You know, working there and being a Bitcoiner, just it really is mentally draining to see us struggle with problems that literally Bitcoin has solved. Mm-hmm. And we struggle with them every month, and not even a place where I can bring up Bitcoin as a solution to our problems. So there's a lot of other things that are going on, but to keep it tied to the podcast, it was time for me to leave. I didn't want it to be like a big deal, but I felt like if I didn't just quit, I would be there for like another 6 months, 9 months. Like I just wouldn't leave. So
I agree. I think they would have like tried to convince you to stay.
Yeah. And
who wouldn't want Ian to stay?
That's part of why I quit, is what I'll say. Don't know what I'm going to do next. I have some ideas that I've been working on. We were actually talking about one of them before we started recording. You know, we've talked about my secret project on the pod for a little bit now. So hopefully I'll have more time to work on that and you guys will hear more about it. But I will give you a little teaser now, because I'm going to definitely be working on it, is that it is an application built on Nostr. That's all I'm going to say. But as an engineer, I've been trying to think of ideas that I could build on Nostr, because I think Nostr is a very interesting protocol. I'm older, so I remember the internet back in like the late 90s. And I feel like Nostr is bringing back that like spirit of building cool stuff. And so I would like to participate in that. I didn't really get to participate in that back in the day because I was young and didn't have any skills. But now I have a decent number of skills where I think this idea has got some legs. I already got a prototype working. Fundamentally, it works. We'll see if it works when I bring in other people that aren't me.
Well, I would say with that, we are going to need to connect with other people who know more about Nostr or have already built things on Nostr. So if you're one of those people, reach out to Ian. He needs minds to pick.
And also just bounce the general idea off in general.
Definitely not something to do. It's going to be really exciting to see what you're going to do with your free time. And I don't know how long. I guess maybe you're an entrepreneur now and you're not going to have a salary for a while. While Bitcoin is down. Okay, great.
You know, Bitcoin is down relative, so I'm not down. Yeah. If you bought a month ago, you might be down.
But we're not going to dip into our Bitcoin.
No, but the point I'm getting at is that you said I quit my job when Bitcoin was down.
It wasn't down for us.
It wasn't down for us, right?
Yeah, true.
And so that is why you don't try to time when you buy Bitcoin. If you buy Bitcoin every day, if you convert your dollars, fiat, whatever currency you have, if you convert it to Bitcoin on a regular basis, you don't have to worry about, is it up or down? Because you were buying it when it was way down. And I think a lot of people are now kicking themselves for having not bought Bitcoin during the whole FTX debacle when it crashed to 15, because they thought it was going to 0.
Yeah.
And you saw the tweets on Twitter where people, you didn't see them, I saw them. But people were literally, it was at 20,000, then it went to 15,000, and people were saying, I'll wait for it to go to 12. Like, what's the difference between 15 and 12 when it had just come down from 70? Like, these are the things that I don't understand. People's
brains are different.
But for me, Bitcoin is like a tree. The best time to buy Bitcoin is yesterday. The second best time is right now. Since we did all that buying during that period of time, we're up. And because we're up, I feel confident that we have some buffer and some cushion for me to do this, try to take this project to the next stage. And if not, I still have skills to market to the marketplace to say, hey, I am a software engineer. I know how to build stuff. And hopefully maybe if that doesn't work out, I could go work at Strike or Unchained or Swan or one of these places that I always talk about.
Yeah.
Right?
With that, if you are in the Bitcoin industry and you're looking for an Ian, he's a free agent. But, for now, I'm really loving a little bit more Ian time.
Yeah, I'm loving waking up and only having to deal with Keon.
Yeah, I'm just very excited for you. I'm really excited for our family. I think it's going to be an amazing lifestyle change to completely have my husband. I've never had you not have to, work on the weekend because something crashed and you got to fix it. I've never not had to share you in that way. So I'm just very selfish in that way of more Ian time. But I think it's going to be really cool. And I know that you and I have both worked really hard to get to the point where we have like some type of security where you can just abruptly quit your job one day because it is conflicting so much with who you are. Like, I was so glad that like, yeah, you could do that and, you know, I'll be able to support us. I'm just so happy for us. Yes, we'll make some lifestyle changes, but we're going to make it work and it's going to be wonderful. And you're going to get to spend more time with your son, which is such a gift. I will say like it's because of Bitcoin that we're doing this because we do feel so comfortable with where we are with our future.
Yes, Bitcoin gives you hope for the future.
Exciting times here at the Flirting with Bitcoin headquarters. So it's gotten a little hot here in DC, and Ian's been rocking a lot of tank tops from our merch store. He's looking mighty good in them, might I add. I don't know which one I like more. So Ian loves the Bueno tank top, which is like the Bitcoin bee and Bueno, and it's like very beachy. We have a men's white tank and black tank, and it's basically all you wear. But they look so good on you. And like today, you were wearing the white one with your blue shorts, and you looked like the beach. You looked like summer. You're just like a walking ad. But no one saw you because you were home all day. But I got to enjoy you.
Yeah, you know, they're really comfortable. Every time we make new merch, I order samples of it. I haven't gotten anything that I haven't liked yet. So that's good.
Yeah, they make the rotation like instantly.
You know, the other day I was outside working in the front yard when it was nice out. One of our neighbors walked by and I had the Bueno tank on with the bee. And the neighbor, they're Hispanic. I don't know what country they're from, but they're definitely, you know, Hispanic. And like I saw him do a double take, you know, like you see a guy just wearing a shirt and then like you realize, wait, that says Bueno. Like, did I not know that guy was Spanish? Like, I think he like looked at me like, did I not know who that guy was? And we kind of, you know, he waved and I waved, but that was like the first time he actually like waved at me, you know? So that was kind of cool. Maybe one day I'll talk to him about Bitcoin or something.
Yeah, our merch is definitely supposed to help make connections.
But this particular tank doesn't say like flirting with Bitcoin on it. So it's not like, what's that? It's just Bueno with a Bitcoin bee.
Hey, there's an air of mystery around it.
That's what I was going for.
Well, if you want us to be a little less mysterious, you can catch us on social media. There are so many ways to reach out to us, connect with us. We have our Telegram group at Flirting with Bitcoin, our YouTube channel, which is at Flirting with Bitcoin. We're on Wavelength. Our Twitter is Flirting with BTC. You can also connect with Ian under Onision. On Instagram, we're Flirting with Bitcoin. Our Noster is linked in the bio. And of course, if you want to subscribe to our newsletter, know the second we publish an episode, go to flirtingwithbitcoin.com to subscribe. Hey, it's Mandana. We're in season 3, The Having, and I'm making sure we drop a new episode every week. We are dreaming big for Flirting with Bitcoin, and the only thing standing in our way is time and money. Let me be transparent and talk real numbers. Through Value for Value, our listeners directly paid us 100,000 sats in season 1. Season 2, we made 1 million sats. Of course, now we gotta see if we can 10x again and reach 10 million sats this season. Hashtag relationship goals. If we earn 10 million sats from the work we put into this podcast, it'll be the sign that one of us can do this part-time, maybe even full-time. Send us Bitcoin or shop our merch store. It all helps with the goal. You can also give us an old school shout out on social, listen to us on your favorite Podcasting 2.0 app, or make and share clips of the show. Your support in any form is value we appreciate. Go to flirtingwithbitcoin.com/support and let's experience value for value together. All right, so you were riled up. I think I calmed you down by reminding you that you quit your job. So you did have a little release, right? But let's get angry again. What's going on, babe? Why so riled up?
So to explain what's going on, we got to do a little history lesson first. You know, like I said a second ago, I'm older. I'm over 40.
You are older than me, yes.
Yes. I'm what they call an elder millennial.
I was basically a child bride. I make that joke all the time. I got to stop making that joke.
But you won't.
Because I'm so much younger than you.
You're literally a having younger than me.
Don't you forget it. If that isn't like the most significant amount of time.
I mean, we could have said president, but I think we're a Bitcoin podcast. So yeah, you're one having.
Yeah, that's how we measure time. So yes, you're a little older. So you remember things that maybe I don't. Remind me, babe.
It's not that you don't remember them. It's that you probably remember them differently. right?
Let's
So when I was coming of age on the internet, we were still using like dial-up modems. One of the big innovations that happened was the MP3. Like that sounds crazy to say out loud, but like MP3 at one point in time was an invention. And so once MP3s were created, you could start putting music on these, at the time, very fast modems. I mean, they're slow as, they're really slow compared to today, but like the MP3s like compressed data so far down that you could push a song in like 3 to 5 megabytes. It still took you a couple minutes to download, which again is hilarious. But once MP3s were created, yada, 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 we get Napster. Right. And I'm sure you remember Napster.
I'm just getting so many flashbacks. And I just remember there were songs that I wanted so bad. And the only one I could find would take like an hour to download. And I would queue up 4 of them and they would take so long. And I would just like pray that my parents didn't need to use the phone. I remember those songs. I remember them. I remember like the ones that were like a recording of a radio, recording off the radio, but I still wanted the song so bad. I remember that because I worked so hard for those songs, babe.
Yeah, we all did.
Now I have Spotify and I'm just like, oh yeah, I guess I'll listen to this new album.
You're getting into a different part of what Napster was about. I'm going to tie Napster back to the Napster story back to Bitcoin. The government came after Napster for breaking the law, right? Now,
and what law did they break?
They were stealing music. Like Napster didn't create the music, and the artist that created the music did not upload it to Napster. They did not give Napster the permission to give their music away for free. I don't think anyone ever argued that what Napster was doing was legal, but it was convenient because at that time, what a lot of people were dealing with, myself included, and what was the name of this album? Oh man, Crazy Town. Do you remember that band?
Yeah.
Okay. Me and my buddy went to Walmart or Kmart, whatever one it was, one of the marts. And he bought this album from Crazy Town. He had heard their song on the radio and he bought the whole CD. The only song that was good on that CD was the song that was on the radio. We had gotten to the point where most CDs were like that. So you didn't want the whole CD anymore. You just wanted the one song. And Napster at the time was really the only place that you could get the one song, unless you were, like you said, recording songs off the radio itself. So when the government came at Napster, it was really just only a matter of time. They went after them, they took it down, and Napster went away. But yet and still, today, we still have music streaming and all that fun stuff. So what happened? The reason why the government was able to take Napster down was because they were a centralized server. And so all the music that you were downloading from Napster was coming from Napster's servers. So when the government said no more Napster, they just had one target: Napster. Well, obviously people enjoyed the idea of downloading music, and they enjoyed the idea of downloading what they wanted. And they also enjoyed the idea of not having to pay for it. So a bunch of nerds got together and created BitTorrent. What BitTorrent does is it solves the fundamental problem that allowed the government to take down Napster, which is the files are not on a single server operated by a single company or entity called Napster. The files are just on the internet, and there are tons of websites you could go to that will give you a file that is not the song, but it's a link that lets you find the song on the internet and download it from multiple places, right? So now you have Napster, but it's decentralized. The government was never able to take that down. They went after a bunch of different companies that sprung up after that. The one that you've probably heard most commonly is Pirate Bay. They've taken down Pirate Bay, I don't know how many times, and it keeps coming back. It's like the Dread Pirate Roberts from Princess Bride, right? You can't get rid of it because Pirate Bay itself doesn't have the files. We don't do this, but we could host BitTorrent files from our house. And when people want to download them, they would just download the pieces from us that they need to put the file together. This story of Napster is the story that the government should be pulling from as they go after these samurai guys. Because, sure, they're going to take samurai down. They arrested the founders. They made them post like, I think, $1 million bond or whatever, right? These guys are on house arrest in Pennsylvania until they go to court in the Southern District of New York, which means they're not going to get a fair trial for what they're being charged with, which is money laundering. What they're not realizing is that just like when they took down Napster, nerds got together and worked around their limitation of centralization. What they're accusing samurai of and what samurai is doing and how they're doing it, nerds will get together and come up with a version of it that they won't be able to take down.
So they're accusing them of money laundering.
They're accusing them of money laundering, which is a made-up crime.
Money laundering basically means it's, there was some criminal activity and this is like revenue that came from it, that they're trying to wipe the history of where the money came from.
Sure. That sounds like an official definition from your degree, I'm assuming.
I don't know, actually. I actually cannot pull the legal definition of money laundering. But that's what it means. It means that it's dirty money that you're trying to wash.
That's fine. If that's the definition, fine.
I mean, the streets taught me that really simple, short definition. Washing dirty money.
Here's my thing. The United States government is the biggest money launderer in the world. Full stop. I wake up, I go to work, or I no longer go to work, but...
That's right.
I wake up, I go to work, I do a job, I get paid a certain amount of money. And before I see any of that money, the government takes a percentage of it, right?
Mhm.
Now, there are some people that call that taxing. There are other people that call that theft. But let's just call that theft for the purpose of this argument, right? I don't want you to take it, but you take it anyway. They then take that money and give it to Ukraine to fight a war against Russia that I don't want them fighting. But the money doesn't actually go to Ukraine. They just get the money and they give it to American companies to buy weapons that people in Congress own stock in said companies. Nancy Pelosi makes hundreds of millions of dollars trading these stocks. How is that not money laundering, right? So like money laundering can be applied to the government. But since they get to make the rules up, these wasabi guys are money launderers, but the government isn't.
And so they're saying these people are wasabi and samurai. What are they doing exactly? They're making it be possible for criminals to wash their money, or they are intentionally letting criminals wash their money.
They arrested the samurai guys. The wasabi guys are pulling out of America just of their own volition so that they don't get arrested. But the samurai guys that they've charged, they're basically saying that they facilitated money laundering and that they were operating a money transmitting business. Now, the problem with that, which is where you said I'm getting riled up, is if you actually go read and study how their software works, the samurai people who built the software, they never have the money. They can't take the money and give it to someone else. Like everyone still has control of their own Bitcoin. So nothing has fundamentally changed between Bitcoin that you have going through Samurai and Bitcoin that you have that isn't going through Samurai. What they don't seem to like is the fact that remember that other case about the Tornado Cash guy from the Netherlands? They arrested him for money laundering. Okay. The way they got him is this company called Chain Analysis. Remember this? Okay. So they brought Chain Analysis into that court case and they said, well, through Chain Analysis software, we can assume that he's laundering money with this software. And what Samurai does, this is the technical part.
But the Chain Analysis prediction is like not accurate.
That doesn't matter.
The court still listened.
Yeah. So Chain Analysis uses probability to determine these are your coins and they move from A to B. What Samurai does is it tries to break that probability. So you put...
Yeah, I remember you told me about Samurai.
Right. So you put your Bitcoin in, it washes it, to use a money laundering term, right? They wash the Bitcoin and you can leave your Bitcoin in they're called a mixer. So you leave your Bitcoin in this mixer. Every time someone mixes, your Bitcoin just gets shuffled up with everyone else's Bitcoin. And until someone withdraws their Bitcoin from the mixer, your Bitcoin might get mixed like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. I have some that was mixed like 20 times. How does Chain Analysis know whose coins are whose after mixing it 20 times? So the United States government and the Tornado Cash case was, I believe, in the Netherlands. But let's just say the Western government and legal system seems to be relying on Chain Analysis for these money laundering cases. And the Samurai guys and the Wasabi guys have software that if you had put your Bitcoin through there, they really don't have a leg to stand on to say like, this is your Bitcoin. Now, they might even be able to point to the fact that you put your Bitcoin into Samurai. Fine. But to say like that it came out the other side and where it went and that it's still yours, like fundamentally the software is designed so that they can't do that. So when you say I'm getting riled up, it's like, they know who they're going after. I'm mad about the reason.
And if these people move to El Salvador, there's nothing that the United States government could do to stop, Wasabi and Samurai from operating and any American Bitcoiner from using it.
Well,
right. Yes, no.
So this is where it gets a little tricky because let's say hypothetically the Samurai guys were operating out of El Salvador. But me personally, I'm in America and I'm using the service, right? And let's say there's like some Russian oligarch operating out of Russia who's been sanctioned by the United States government. And he puts some Bitcoin in the mixer and I put my Bitcoin in the mixer and our Bitcoin gets mixed together. And they weren't necessarily tracking my Bitcoin, but they were tracking his Bitcoin. They see that, well, his Bitcoin went in and then it came out to this address and that address is in the States in a way, right? Let's just say like we think it went to someone in the States in a way. And they come knocking on my door. Personally, I don't know that there's a Russian oligarch using this service. I can't say don't mix my coins with a Russian oligarch, but they would not have been able to go arrest the Wasabi guy, the Samurai guy, if they're operating out of El Salvador and they're in El Salvador. These guys were in Pennsylvania.
But you're saying the U.S. government could instead just come after you to say like, oh,
yeah,
you use their software, you must be a criminal.
Yeah, I don't think they would come after me per se. I don't think they'd come after like individual people like that. This is why they went after the creators of the software. But I do think that like why you said I was getting riled up and why the more I think about this, the more infuriating it is that these guys have literally written white papers on what their software does. You can go read what it does.
It's not a secret.
It's not a secret,
Yeah.
right? Like they use like secret, Samurai and Dojo. It sounds like internet nerd stuff or whatever, but they literally have written up what it does and how it works to give people confidence in using it. And if you read how it works, you know that like they don't touch any of the money. It's very similar to Bitcoin in the sense of like you just opt into this thing. You just want more privacy for your money. The government is trying to criminalize privacy, right? Like Bitcoin is pseudonymous, but then they support chain analysis as a company to go after people. So then someone creates software to protect themselves from that. And then they go after those people.
I like that. I like that addition to it. For anyone trying to understand what's going on here, it's not that Bitcoin needed Samurai to be private or needed Wasabi to be private. It's that Bitcoin was private and then someone created the company Chain Analysis. Their operations are celebrated by the government and used by the government.
Exactly.
And then there needed to be a solution to that violation of privacy that existed with Bitcoin.
Exactly. And there's even more nuance than that, which is first, the United States government says that Bitcoin isn't money. So how is this money laundering?
It makes no sense.
Number two, first they say it's not money. Okay, fine. But they're not moving USD. They're moving Bitcoin. And last time I checked, you got nothing to do with that. Like the United States dollar is the United States' dollar.
Mind your business.
Mind your business. But also, the United States government thinks that they can say how everything should operate, even things that they did not create. They did not create Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not a creation of the United States. And if it is, please come out and say it. Please show me that you can move Satoshi's coins. If the United States government has people in it that can move Satoshi's coins, please, by all means, move the coins. And then you can prove that, well, this is actually our thing and we get to say how it works.
So you have recently called this whole phenomenon a schizophrenic federal government.
Yeah.
Break that down for me.
On one hand, they say that Bitcoin isn't money. They say that it's not worth anything. They let people like Senator Warren go up there and try to say how Bitcoin is like being used to fund criminal enterprises or whatever, and that it's bad and it needs to be shut down. But at the same time, like if it's not real money, if it's not real, then why does it have value? How can it fund things if it doesn't have value?
Yeah.
Right? So that's the schizophrenia I think that they're dealing with. Whether they like it or not, it has value.
Well, also, and you brought this up earlier tonight, the president's budget projects huge revenue from taxing Bitcoin.
They project huge revenue from taxing capital gains on the sale of Bitcoin, right? So they are projecting that Bitcoin is going to hit, I think it's $250,000 or $500,000 a coin.
Yeah.
And they're projecting that, okay, well, assuming that people bought all that Bitcoin between $0 and whenever that report came out, someone's going to sell at $500,000 and we're going to tax them capital gains on that difference. So they've worked that into their budget as like revenue.
Right.
So they see the conversion of Bitcoin into dollars as money that they want to tax. What I believe they understand, but they're not going to say out loud, is that ain't nobody going to go back into dollars when it hits $500,000.
Right.
So you put it in your budget as though like, oh, this is how we're going to like make up for the fact that we printed like $10 trillion in the last 4 years. We're going to tax people on their Bitcoin gains.
They probably have a plan or strategy to milk out as much Bitcoin as they can from people and taxes and fees and like, I don't know, seizing assets that they think they are going to profit off of Bitcoin.
There are two different types of people in government. There are the people that understand how it all works, and then the people that are just doing their jobs. Someone tells them to do a thing, it's on the checklist, they get it done. This case against Samurai sounds like the latter. It sounds like they're bringing a case against somebody because someone told them to do it. Because
take them down,
right? And on the surface, at a very superficial level, yes, it does look like money laundering. It does look like they're running a money transmitting business. It does look like all the things they're accusing them of. However, if you actually break down their reasoning, if I had Bitcoin, now that you know how to do transactions with private keys and stuff, right? Okay. If I had a Bitcoin address that had private keys to it, and I tweeted out the 12 words to that address, I'm a money transmitter. Just by tweeting 12 words. How is that possible? Like fundamentally, that's their case. Sharing private keys and the orchestration of all of that like constitutes money transmission. Okay. Well, what if I just go in the middle of town and scream out those 12 words? Is that money transmission?
It's because money transmission is so ridiculously complicated before Bitcoin that if you don't really get Bitcoin, you can't believe that it's that simple.
Well, it's more than that, right? So the world that we live in today, there's a money caste system, right? So like the dollar is at the top of the caste system, and every other currency on the planet is subordinate to the dollar. Because of that, the United States tries to enforce a lot of rules about how you can get into their dollar. And if you get into their dollar in ways that they deem inappropriate or unacceptable, fundamentally that's money laundering, right? Like fundamentally now you're starting to commit money crimes and they're going to come after you for various reasons. But with Bitcoin, once I go into Bitcoin, I have no incentive to go back into dollars.
Right.
And so these people that were...
Unless you need to buy something.
Sure, but these people that are running Samurai and people that are putting their coins into Samurai, they're not converting Bitcoin into dollars. This system is not happening on the dollar system. This is like what I'm getting at is they think that they have a say about
how Bitcoin is transmitted.
And how Bitcoin works and that they can say how doing this with Bitcoin is illegal, but doing this with Bitcoin isn't illegal. They think that they literally control the laws for Bitcoin. They are coming at this as though they are actually in control of Bitcoin.
That's fascinating.
And the problem that I have with that, which you said I was getting riled up, is that these octogenarians can't even read email. They have staffers that they criminally underpay to read emails for them, to print them out on cardboard, to take into the House of Congress and show because they don't know how to do a freaking PowerPoint presentation. These are not competent people. They are not.
They're not.
And their level of competence is just degrading as they get older and older and older. They can't even walk upstairs. They can't even stand in front of microphones and talk. These people are freaking worthless. And someone has created something that does not need their input at all. We don't need them. We have decided how much it's worth. I decide how much Bitcoin I want to do a job for someone. It's not minimum wage. You can't force them to give me a certain amount of Bitcoin. You can do all of that if it's in dollars. By all means, United States, if it's a transaction in dollars, whether I like it or not, that is your system. You can put as many rules and regulations as you want on it. But the Bitcoin network is not yours. Back off, or else, once everyone else figures this out, you are not going to have a leg to stand on. There won't even be a United States dollar because everyone is sick of you guys doing this. Everyone. I live in America. I live in Washington, D.C. I'm fucking sick of it. And this Samurai case is just another example of how these octogenarians don't understand how the world works. They only understand force, intimidation, and mafioso tactics to scare people into behaving a certain way, because that's really the only lever they have to pull is fear.
With that, I completely agree with your reaction. How can anyone stop this? I'm thinking, all right, yeah, octogenarians, right? Maybe the judge that sees this case is a little younger. They're not going to understand it.
I don't put a lot of faith in the court system these days. Definitely don't put a lot of faith in the court system where this guy is going to get it tried, which is the Southern District of New York, because they are just the court of the financial world. So like, good luck.
Yeah.
Which I also believe like those are the people that told them to go after this guy. When I said they just got told what to do, it was those guys.
You know, I'm thinking about The Good Wife. You watched some of The Good Wife with me. Do you remember?
I do.
And we watched it much after the fact, after it aired. But The Good Wife was a show about a legal drama, basically, about Chicago. They had a lot of cases on the show that would highlight new technologies, a lot of stuff about the NSA. So like very current events. And it was such a challenge in the trials on that show for people to understand at all what was going on. It just took a second. And there was actually one of the characters, I guess he was like a tech guy, ran a big search engine. I should have figured out who he was supposed to be, but I didn't. But he a lot of times like didn't have patience for anyone. He would be like, "No, what I'm doing is what I'm doing, and it's what I'm doing." I mean, I think oftentimes he was the bad guy too, but it's like I feel like that's the energy where it's like you can come with that energy actually when you're very wealthy. But if you're like a small little Bitcoin operation, how much money do you even have to fight this?
The government is accusing these guys of having made hundreds of millions of dollars doing this. So
what if they did?
Regardless.
I mean, then maybe they could get the right attorneys, but
like, let's think about,
I don't know.
Let's think about this for real. Okay. Right now we're saying Bitcoin, and we know that Bitcoin has a dollar value, right? There's a market for Bitcoin. There's a bigger problem at play here. The problem that I have is that the government thinks that they can just interject themselves into anything that they don't like. And we all just have to accept it. And up until Bitcoin, I would argue that that was fundamentally true, right? Like up until Bitcoin, okay, maybe there were certain countries you could run to like flee extradition, but you weren't going to be able to take any money that you had with you. So if you were Roman Polanski, I don't think he got to take any of his money in his bank with him. Now, he did other work outside of the country and has since made more money, but like, when the government is coming after you, they kind of freeze all your assets. Up until Bitcoin, even if it wasn't in the dollar, they could like kind of lean heavy on the Eurozone and be like freeze their Euro bank account. If you went to Japan, they could like lean on Japan to get Japan to do the same thing. There's no way they can lean on to stop you from having your Bitcoin. So again, these people don't know how to operate in a cooperative manner. They don't. They have never had to cooperate with anyone in their entire lives. These octogenarians have never cooperated with anyone. They've been the bullies of the world their entire life. That's the only life they know. And anytime someone did something that didn't even attack them, just like threatened to make them look bad, they would collapse economies and invade countries and threaten to bomb you back into the Stone Age. Like, this is how they operate. And now here comes this thing called Bitcoin. They can't financially punish you, which is the biggest lever they have before just killing you. And if they started killing off Bitcoiners in large numbers, people would notice.
I hope that doesn't happen.
It's not going to happen. But my point is that they don't have that same lever to pull when it comes to Bitcoiners. So they pull heavier on the lever before that, which is fear.
Yes, that is the safest move right now, is to just scare everyone.
But not everyone who is coming to Bitcoin today even knows what Samurai is.
Yeah.
Samurai is something that is, they're going after Samurai as a message to Bitcoiners. It is not a message to the people buying the ETF.
Yeah.
They don't care about those people. You put your money into the ETF, go ahead. Think you have Bitcoin. Go ahead. They don't care because you're giving your money to BlackRock and the government will lean on BlackRock just like everyone else. So you're not actually getting free of this system when you buy the ETF. But for the people who are on Twitter that are like, don't tread on me, taxes, theft, all that stuff, right? This case against Samurai is a message to them. You think you can get away from us? You think you're free? You think you can hide? Not like this. And we're going to have to play this game now. Okay, fine. You took down our Napster. We're coming back stronger and harder. We all listen to music on Spotify now. Like, Spotify is 1,000,000 times better than Napster.
For a user experience, yeah.
For a user experience. But my point is that
artists are still getting screwed.
Well, the artists are getting more than Napster was giving them.
Yeah.
Right?
Spotify's making all the money.
Spotify's making all the money. But my point is that like, this case against Samurai is a message to Bitcoiners. I don't have faith in the court system to try this case fairly. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter because there are millions of people writing software right now. Before this case is over, there will be something better than Samurai, I promise you. And the government won't be able to do anything about that. So go ahead, kick the hornet's nest of all these engineers out here if you want to. Y'all done fucked up.
I really wonder what it's going to take for them to just give up on trying to fight Bitcoin and like try to be the leader in Bitcoin.
It won't be these octogenarians.
It won't. They're idiots.
As long as they let Elizabeth Warren continue to open her mouth, they're not part of team. It's not even you got to be part of Team Bitcoin. It's like, just leave them alone. If they want to play with fake internet money, what does it matter?
Yeah.
What does it matter? Oh, they created this like they created this video game, right? Like, I don't see them going after World of Warcraft. People buy and sell gold on Warcraft all the time. Well, I don't know if they do it anymore because, like, you know, it's kind of comical at this point. But there's tons of video games where people buy and sell things alongside the video game for real dollars.
Look, I'm with you. If you go back to the first few conversations we had about Bitcoin and what you were telling me about the universe that Bitcoin lives in, I just was shocked at how much definitive proof there was that the government believes Bitcoin is money.
Oh, no. They act as though it's real.
Yeah.
But they have zero control over it. And that is a world that they do not understand. There's a line from the Bible where I don't know what the situation is, but Jesus says, render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's, because people are asking him, should we pay taxes to Rome? People have translated this different ways, but he's saying, if you're doing business with their money, then yes, you have to pay them taxes, right? Like if you're exchanging Roman coins in your dealings with business, then yes, you have to pay your taxes. If I'm over here working for Bitcoin, Caesar has nothing to do with this. There is nothing to give to them.
Mhm.
This is not yours to tax. This is not yours to say how it works. This does not belong to you. This belongs to everyone. And everyone has decided that we don't think someone should just put their hand in our pocket because I bought a sandwich from you. We don't think things should operate like that. And we're willing to operate with this fake internet money rather than your money. So you take that as a slight, or you take that as like, we got to shut this down. Never once questioning, why would they even create this? Are we that bad?
Mm-hmm.
Are we the baddies?
Baddies is a good thing.
I mean, that's a meme. Are we the baddies, right? Okay. But it's like, are we the bad guys? I thought we were the good guys. It's like, no, when people are creating systems and tools and alternative, parallel economies to escape what you've created, yes, you're the bad guy. And I just don't think that these octogenarians are willing to accept the fact that they created a world that everyone doesn't want to be a part of. Nobody wants to be a part of this world that they created. And we've been trying in various ways and forms to get out of it. Some guys lost their lives in very unceremonious fashions.
What guys lost their lives?
Saddam Hussein.
Oh, yeah.
Muammar Gaddafi, right? A lot of people in Afghanistan.
I thought you were talking about Bitcoiners.
Well, John McAfee.
Oh, yeah.
They say he committed suicide. No one believes it.
Yeah.
There will be others.
I just really wonder, who are these people that are working on these, prosecution cases?
They're not intelligent.
They're not. Like, what technical background do they have? Who are they talking to? Like, I might even look this up myself.
I don't think this is a case of merit. I think this is a case
I almost want to call the office on Monday and be like, I'm just curious, like, what technical background or which consultants is the prosecution working with?
They will probably come after you for asking questions.
So I won't call.
This is the world we live in. You're not even allowed to question their behavior.
I'll see it. Maybe a news outlet can ask.
You don't have to do any of this, babe. Like, people are doing this.
I know some reporters.
there are people that are doing this. The information will all be present for you very soon. The more important part of all of this is that we see, based on how they are acting, their true intention. I'm riled up because it's gotten to the point now with a lot of things, not just Bitcoin, with a lot of things. They can't even keep the facade up anymore. They just can't. There's this clip circulating on Twitter and Nostr right now about modern monetary theory. And the guy is like the chief economic yada, yada, yada for the United States, right? And the woman asks him straight up, it's like, okay, the United States prints money. It can print money. It can create as much money as it wants. That's this guy's contention. We can print as much money as we want. No ramification. Follow-up question. So then why do we borrow it with interest?
Mm-hmm.
And this guy's answer, who's on the payroll of the United States government, is utterly embarrassing. He can't answer that question.
Nice.
So that's who they have on their team. Meanwhile, regardless of what people are currently saying about him,
everyone's mad at Michael Saylor.
We got Saylor. We got a bunch of smart people on our side saying, let them do whatever they want at this point. It doesn't matter. They can't even explain what they're doing. Fine. But the only way you can protect yourself from the fact that they don't know what they're doing is to convert your life to a Bitcoin standard. And then you can stand on the sidelines and laugh at them. Now, yes, they will make things bad for us, right? Like, gas is getting expensive. Food is getting expensive. Housing is getting expensive. Everything is getting expensive. They printed $10 trillion in the last 5 years. They're going to have to print another $10 trillion to keep this scam going. There's no way to protect yourself other than exiting this game, this system that they've created. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to scare the Bitcoiners so that if you try to really exit, i.e., like, I am no longer a United States citizen, exit, when you started the show and said they arrested some people, what's going on? Well, there was actually another guy that got arrested too. And basically what he did was he renounced his citizenship, but they're coming after him for not having paid exit tax on his Bitcoin. So years later, they're going after him for not having paid to no longer be a United States citizen. Now, because no one likes that guy, everyone's like, screw that guy, whatever, that sucks. But I'm like, They won't even let him leave. He no longer wants to be a part of this. And they're like,
he's trapped in America?
It's not that he's trapped in America. He left the country, but he did not pay exit tax on his Bitcoin.
Yeah, so they're trying to get paid. What does that mean? They're asking him to come back? Like, how do you make someone pay after they've left?
He was arrested.
Oh, like extradition?
Yeah. So
Jeez.
like once you're arrested, once you're in handcuffs, you are no longer in control of your life.
Which law enforcement agency did that?
I don't know.
Oh.
The point is that once they put you in handcuffs, it's over. It doesn't even matter if they have a real case.
He's got to have a lot of Bitcoin.
It doesn't matter. Like once they put you in handcuffs, it's over. They will keep you in court until you have spent all your Bitcoin trying to get out of jail. This is what they are going to do. What they're doing to this guy is what they're going to do. They're going to do it to everyone. And I don't know this guy. I understand why people don't like him for things that he did in the past or whatever. Fine, like whatever. He didn't do anything to me. Don't think that you're sitting there on like a stack of like 5 or 10 Bitcoin and they won't do this to you for your 5 or 10 Bitcoin. If you are an American citizen and you plan on one day being like, yo, I'm out. Here's my passport. I'm out. You got to pay exit tax. Don't think you're going to wash your Bitcoin through Samurai and pretend like you don't have any Bitcoin when you leave.
What is the tax exactly?
It's called exit tax.
But if you're just moving your Bitcoin, how can they tax that? You're not even moving your Bitcoin.
They are saying that your Bitcoin is part of your wealth. And when you try to renounce your United States citizenship, you have to pay taxes on all of your wealth to leave. And so if you have $50 million worth of Bitcoin, when you try to leave, you have to pay tax on $50 million.
How can they know how much Bitcoin you have?
Because they're using chain analysis and they're shutting down Samurai so that you don't break. You see what I'm saying?
But I thought chain analysis is not accurate.
Has that stopped them?
That's true. But
Like,
how can they really? We'll just have to see how these cases play out.
Again, this is a scare tactic. They are scaring people into making sure that they pay that tax on their way out. Samurai was arguably a way where, like, if you had a bunch of Bitcoin, okay, wash it through Samurai, leave, and they couldn't know that you had Bitcoin. But now they're shutting down Samurai. Why? Because things are about to get bad, and a lot of people that are sitting on tens of millions of dollars of Bitcoin are going to try to leave, and they're going to make them all pay tax on the way out. Hey, gang, it's Ian. Let's chat for a second. Bitcoiner or not, I know we're all feeling anxious to save more money lately. But do you want to know why you're feeling that way? It's because you're still thinking in fiat. Seeing the price of everything go up in your local currency, that's what's driving you crazy. That's where all this anxiety is coming from. Meanwhile, the reality is everything is actually getting cheaper on Bitcoin Island. And you might ask yourself, how do I get to Bitcoin Island? Simple. Bitcoin Island is just a state of mind. And you need to train your brain to think in Bitcoin. Your first training exercise is to set a Bitcoin goal using the Satoshi Savings Calculator made by yours truly. And your goal should be to always have more Bitcoin today than you did yesterday. It's literally that simple. This way, the amount of Bitcoin you have only goes up. And once you start to think in Bitcoin, over time, everything around you becomes cheaper. You'll be way more confident about the future. No more anxiety. Look, we don't need to overcomplicate this. You're still early, but you gotta be strategic. And you gotta unlearn everything they taught you about money. So go to flirtingwithbitcoin.com and train your brain to think in Bitcoin with the Satoshi Savings Calculator.
It's time for Satoshi for your thoughts. Hey, Ian.
What's up?
What do you think about these protests that are happening on these campuses?
Pointless.
Tell me more.
There's no more. Pointless.
You don't think it's going to do anything?
Show me one protest that changed anything.
Well, it's actually really interesting that you say that, because when you were talking about the old people in charge and how they just do whatever they want and they're bullies and all of those things, I saw a clip yesterday of Biden being asked if these protests will impact or change their position on, supporting Israel. And he immediately just looks straight on and he goes, nope. And I was like, wow, you are not at all caring to pretend that we're in a democracy.
This is, I was thinking about this yesterday, I guess.
Like he was like, yeah, we're like listening and we understand that people are upset. But, like it was like, what, are you forgetting? Are you forgetting that you're supposedly saving the soul of this country?
Biden's a clown.
Yeah.
No, the protests are pointless. I've never seen a protest do anything. They always tend to end in the police coming in and beating people's heads over. Like it doesn't, protesting doesn't get what I think people who protest thinks it gets. You know who gets what they want most of the time?
The rich.
Yeah. So go get rich. You can't get rich when you're at a protest. It's not possible. Camping out on a student lawn, like screaming at police, you're not getting rich. Like if you really want to like sway policy in the United States as things are set up, go get rich. It sucks to say it like that. I think people are taught that that's not how it is, but go look at who gets what they want. Rich people get what they want. And you know what they're not doing? They're not out on a campus protesting. They're protesting, but they're not out protesting the way this is being portrayed. We created a system where rich people get what they want. That's the system that we live in. Sometimes you can convince rich people to want the same things that you want, but it's still rich people getting what they want.
You know, the interesting thing is that the protests are asking these schools to divest investments in Israel.
You want to divest? Stop giving them money.
Well, step one, yes.
Stop borrowing money to give to these schools that you are in debt for.
Exactly.
Like, what are you, these people, like, it's so backwards. Like, you fought tooth and nail to get into this school, then you borrow hundreds of thousands of dollars to go there, and then demand that they divest. Just don't give them any money.
Yeah.
It's
like
so simple. That's how you divest.
All of that. You do all of that, and then they call the cops on you to beat the shit out of you.
Yeah. You pay $200,000 a year and get the shit beat out of you.
There's still children waiting for their acceptance letter from those schools right now.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
That's part of the schizophrenia of America. Yeah. Everyone thinks, not going to be me. Not going to be me.
Not going to be our son.
I'll play the game better.
My son is not going to step foot on these campuses that call the police on their students.
My son's not setting foot on a campus, full stop.
They're all the same.
But look.
I will say Brown University came to an agreement with their protesters and they are divesting.
Weak.
So, what?
Weak.
What do you mean weak? It worked.
Brown is weak.
Oh, just as a school?
Weak. You know that show, what was the show? Grownish?
Yes.
That whole plot line of the guy that was like a protester and then becomes a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When the schools cave, they're not getting nothing out of it. Let's see what Brown let's go find out what deals Brown actually made when they caved.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just saw a headline.
My point is that there's always something that's being given when they cave. They're not caving out of the goodness of their heart. They got something. I want to know what that is. And they're not going to tell you because they don't have to tell you. So what do? We just go, oh, Brown is being good they're not being good of heart.
Look, the fact that they were doing it in the first place.
Again, college is a scam. I've been saying that since I was 18. And the older I get, the more and more obvious it becomes. If you don't think that your college that you've borrowed money and given to should be putting money into Israel, okay, great. Like, that's your right. You didn't have to go there. You did not have to go there, full stop. And there are people that go to those schools and look down on people because they didn't go to those schools. Oh, I went to Columbia. Oh, I went to whatever. You couldn't get it. Like, these people are, not all of them, definitely the ones that are out there protesting. They aren't the most intelligent people of us. They're not. Because
yeah, but why knock them?
Because I can. What are they going to do? Come protest in front of my house?
No, I mean, a lot of people are criticizing them because they think that they're on the wrong side.
Look, I've said it on the podcast before, and I'll say it again. I have no dog in the fight between Palestine and Gaza, or Israel and Gaza, Palestine. What I don't care. This fight is before my time. It'll be going on after my time. But if you're going to come to the United States and keep that nonsense going, I don't care. I don't care.
I mean, for me, it's our money that they're spending. Like,
again,
they spend more money and care more about people outside of this country than inside of this country. But
that is true.
That's a whole different podcast.
Go get rich and you can possibly change that. You know, I was watching the thing the other day where the former CEO of Blackwater was doing an interview. This guy, Eric Prydz, however you say it. And he was explaining how the United States government went after Blackwater for actually doing what they hired them to do, right? This guy became a multi-millionaire, probably billionaire with Blackwater, right? He's very wealthy. He has the ability to affect change in very small areas of the government. Not in the sense of like, I can tell someone to do something, but if they ask him his opinion on a situation, he might be able to influence the decisions that are being made. But the only reason he's able to do that is because he has a ton of freaking money. There are tons of people on YouTube that have way more information than that guy. Having the information and being right doesn't matter. You have to be rich. That is the system that is set up. That is what America is. If you don't understand that, life is going to be really hard for you in this country. You have to be rich. And I'm not talking about 1 million, 2 million, 5 million. I'm talking about 100 million, 200 million, the yacht videos that I'm watching, you have one of them. It's not an option. You have one of them.
Well, you know, most people are not going to get to that.
Well, maybe most people aren't going to get to that, but I also think a lot of people in those protests think that having that much money is criminal. Like they, in their mind, think it's wrong to have the wealth that is required to change things. They're never going to change anything because they think that being poor or not rich.
You think these are Ivy League schools? These are rich kids. These are children of rich kids.
Go look at.
You think they're all financial aid kids?
I'm not saying they're financial aid kids. I'm saying they're the people that say billionaires are bad.
I'm one of those people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not changing anything either.
I'm not.
Okay.
I mean, I don't go out to the protests either.
Okay. But hypothetically, if your Bitcoin became worth $100 million, I bet you could change some things in Montgomery County.
Maybe. But like
right?
you said, right?
You could
small
probably change some stuff in our neighborhood.
Yeah, you're
right?
saying small change. Yes, I agree.
This chick who keeps sending me mailers, I could probably replace her if I had $100 million.
Yes.
Right?
And I don't think that level of change is worth it.
Right. But this is my point. This is my point is that there's a woman, I don't want to say her name because then it'll kind of give away where we live, but there's someone who's sending all these.
A local politician.
It's a local politician, right?
She got a lot of money.
Whatever. There's a local politician and she sends these like massive mailers. They don't even fit in the mailbox mailers, right? And at a certain point, it's like annoying. You don't need to send this to me. You don't need to send this to anyone. We all know who you are. We're either showing up to vote for you or not. But if I had $100 million, she got one more time to send one of those to my house and I'm replacing her and I will spend money to remove her. That's what rich people do.
Just because you don't like her mailer.
Yes.
I know.
This is how rich people operate.
That's how petty you would be.
It's not about being petty. It's when you have the ability to actually change something, it just takes crossing a threshold and saying, okay, I guess I'm going to actually do something about this. But most of us don't have the resources to actually do anything about it. So we just bitch about it. Elon Musk, say what you will about him. He was fed up with what was going on. And so he spent $50 billion to buy Twitter. Everyone told him not to.
The bots.
Everyone told him not to.
I didn't get it until now I'm on it. And there's so many bots.
Yeah.
What?
Everyone told him not to. They said it was a bad idea. They said, you're never going to turn it around. It's not going to work. And he said, it's still money well spent because I think it needs to be done. That's the kind of money you have to affect change. And I would argue that while people are trying to say that his purchase of Twitter did not affect any change, I don't think that that's true because
they got a lot of people on Nostr.
No. Yes, but no, because now before Elon bought Twitter, you couldn't even suggest that the vaccines were harming people. And if you did, your account got banned. Now, the maker of a vaccine just admitted to it and it didn't get blocked on Twitter. That's the change.
I mean, I guess it just depends on the topic, though, because there's still limitations. That's why, like, Nostr is...
Yes, Twitter still has limitations, but for the people that are not on Nostr...
That's all they think they got.
Before Elon bought Twitter, you were not getting the truth.
So, babe, just to wrap this all up, do you think that you're going to be angrier / more riled up or less angry and less riled up now that you don't have to work at the job that, wasn't making you very happy?
I'm still riled up just for different reasons.
I know. I feel like you're going to have more time to be riled up about like real things.
I mean, real things in general, but like
there's a lot of passion coming from you tonight.
No, this samurai thing is really it's really enraging the more I think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like on the surface, it's like, all right, that's the government shooting their shot, whatever. Like we knew they were going to do something stupid or whatever. But when I actually like think about it, like when you were like, should we talk about this?
A lot of people online seemed angry about it.
Like
they were disillusioned from it.
It literally raises my body temperature thinking about what this actually, hot and bothered, right? No, it literally raises my body temperature. I feel myself getting hot talking about this because they are at the point where they're not even pretending to follow the law. Like that's the point that we're at. Say what you will about Trump. Say what you will about anybody else who's in court on some trumped up charges. Ironically, Trump has the term trumped up, whatever. But like trumped up charges is a thing that we all know about. We all know the government brings stronger cases than they really have and negotiates or whatever. We know that they do that. They're not even pretending anymore. They are just using the legal system to persecute people.
Well, babe, stay hot and bothered for me, but take solace in knowing that maybe this conversation will help inform people to spread the word about this injustice.
Yeah.
Just a positive note. But again, stay hot. Just, stay hot and bothered for me.
I'll
Stay hot
give
and
you
bothered for
something
mama.
to end on a positive note. All right.
Yeah.
The positive note is that as hot and bothered as I am about this, we do have people in Congress that are also hot and bothered about this. The senator from Wyoming, Cynthia Lummis, like she is like on this. Like, what are you people doing? Right? Like, you seem to be going after privacy. You seem to be going after people just trying to hold their wealth. The lines are being drawn. And I think over the next 2 to 4 years, there's going to be some pretty stark lines drawn in America. And it's not going to be red versus blue anymore. It's going to be orange versus green.
Thanks for listening to the show.
Now, let's get you set up on Fountain so you can start earning some money simply by listening to podcasts.
Go to fountain.fm to download the app.
Once your app is set up, search for Flirting with Bitcoin and hit follow.
Listen to our show and episodes from your other favorite podcasts to earn your first Satoshis, which are fractions of a Bitcoin.
And make sure to keep an eye out for our promoted episodes.
You can earn up to 100 Satoshis just for listening.
Pretty cool, huh?
You can use those sats you've earned to send us a boost, like a little payment with a message.
And I swear, we try to respond to everyone.
Every episode, we shout out the top boosters.
To support us or other podcasters with more sats, you can top up your Fountain wallet with a bank card or lightning transfer from apps like Strike or Cash App.
The easiest way to learn is to get started.
Now, you're all set up for podcasting 2.0.